Hello, everyone, and welcome to your first day of class. I'm Marketing Communications Manager and faculty member Daniel Sloan, and on behalf of Trident, I want to say thank you for taking the next step in your educational journey with us. New students often have a lot of questions, and we are here to help. As a way to ease you into our unique student-centered model, we've designed this webinar that will cover all the areas vital to success in your chosen program. Let me introduce today's presenters. First, we have Dr. George Del Hierro, who's currently a department chair in University College. During his time at Trident, he has worked closely with students in a variety of roles, including academic advising, financial aid, and academic probation support services. Dr. Del Hierro earned a PhD in educational leadership from Trident and has received numerous awards during his time at the university, including honors for communication and collaboration and student motivation. He is a passionate advocate for student success. Next, we have Tasha Cureton. She currently serves as a Student Success Advisor 3 and part-time faculty member. For the past 10 years, she has helped facilitate initiatives to improve student success, namely as senior manager in the Center for Student Success. From assisting with orientation to being a member on the Committee of Academic Standards, her passion is to help students reach their academic dreams. Joining us during the Q&A session will be Christina Sines, Student Success Advisor 3 in our Center for Student Success. She's held a number of roles during her 10 years at Trident, including Supervisor of Graduate Advisors. Her dedication to meeting student needs is demonstrated through compassionate, active listening, seeking to understand and striving to act in the best interests of her students. Just a couple notes before we begin the session. Although a portion of the webinar has been pre-recorded, you have the option to ask questions at any time. Look for the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen, find a question box, type in your question, and hit submit. The FDOC team is behind the scenes right now. Let us know if you have any questions. We'll answer them during the live Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Now I'm going to hand things off to Tasha to talk about student success tips. The floor is yours, Tasha.
Thanks, Daniel, and welcome everybody. We're so excited to have you here. I love Trident University. I've been a student, I teach, and I wear many different hats, and I work with students very closely. So this is an exciting time for you to start on your educational path. Here's some things that we're going to go over today. We're going to talk about tips for success. I'm going to spend some time really digging in there. It can be a little nerve-wracking when you haven't done school for a while, or it's just a totally new environment. And so we want to make that transition as smooth and comfortable as possible for you. Dr. Del Hierro is going to talk about academic writing. That tends to be one of the main concerns with students when they're coming back to school is, how do I write? How do I get back in the mode of formatting my paper? And then we're going to talk about career and networking support. But I would ask everyone to stick around for what I think is one of my favorite parts of the webinar, which is the questions section. We always have great questions, and there's a great student success story at the end, so stay tuned. Now we're going to talk a little bit about just tips for success and moving into your classes for the first time. So whether you've been away for years, maybe this is your first class in college, or maybe you're just transitioning right into a different school, we want you to be confident. Everyone here has a different walk of life, and you all bring different perspectives. Whether you're a stay-at-home parent, maybe you're a veteran or advanced in your career, or maybe like one of my 89-year-old students who came back and got a master's degree, you're in another season of life and you're ready to move forward. So what I mean by that is, know that your perspective will enhance the conversation and your discussions in your class, and you are worthy to be here. So feel free to ask questions. Know that you're supported. We're going to talk about your support team. Get to know your professors and peers. As faculty members on here, we often see students a little nervous to reach out to us, and there's no need for that. We want you to feel connected as a university and between you and the student. You as the student, my apologies. We're going to talk a lot about time management and long-term academic planning, but most importantly, have fun. And this will help with your motivation. This is something, if you ever get stuck or just feel like things are difficult, that's when it's time and a trigger should go off that you need to reach out and connect with us. And we are here and we genuinely want to help. So let's start by talking about time management. And this is something very near and dear to my heart. As Danny Sloan said, I got my master's degree at Trident University. At the time, I was a manager. I had a very extremely premature baby. I was in the office a lot and managing life and work, and I wanted to get my master's degree. So I can relate to trying to balance it all. One of my rules was when I got home from work, I wasn't allowed to sit on the couch. And the reason I say that is because it is so easy, especially these days, to just sit down, watch some TV, or get on your phone and just kind of veg out. By staying off the couch, my rule was then I wasn't allowed to sit on the couch until I went and did my homework. So that kind of comes up to our first point, which is create a time management plan. This might be new for some of you, or some of you might live and die by your planner. And so if this is new for you, think about it this way. You're creating a plan to succeed. When I see students not creating a plan, sometimes I challenge them to do so, and usually they come back and are able to submit more on time. They're able to figure out when they want to go to school for themselves. No one here is telling you to go to school at what time, right? Usually you have a certain amount, whether if it's your CERT program, you have a week, or if it's your master's, associates, or bachelor's, you have 2 weeks to do your module. And so anytime within there, you need to set aside a few nights or maybe mornings, whenever you think best and you have time dedicated to make that your school time. So when your friends call and they miss you because they haven't seen you in a while, you've got schoolwork to do and you want to plan your life around that. Now, Trident is all about flexibility too. And so consider weekends, holidays, birthdays, vacations. We want you to have a life, but you're now fitting this new component into your schedule. And if you don't make time for it, there just won't be time for it. And so I love to see a student with a plan. If that's something you can do today, get out your planner. I use my planner here. I have a wall calendar that you can see here in the back, and I have a digital calendar. So I am all about scheduling your schoolwork. And in the beginning, you may want to go in every day for even 15 minutes just to get a sense of what do you need to accomplish the things and to kind of feel like you're in the rhythm of school. Because I always tell students, in your first few sessions, always take classes back to back so that you can get into a good rhythm. Because once you get out of that rhythm, sometimes it's hard to jump back in. So write down your due dates. The bachelor's and master's and associate's classes are usually due on Sunday nights. So I would always say try and do your first discussion the first week of the module and your peer responses the following week. If you have questions about this, we can talk more in the Q&A section as well. And make adjustments to your schedule, but I think the key is to just have a plan, right? Don't get discouraged when you fall behind. Again, as I mentioned before, that's kind of that trigger. If you're falling behind, you may think, oh, well, I don't want to give excuses, or this is just on me. Trust me, we understand what it's like to be adults and to have things come up. And so we can't help you if we don't know what's going on. And it's not to judge you. It's not to be upset with you. It's to say, hey, that's okay. Look, you still have time to do this, or maybe we can help you with this option. Again, there are options and exceptions if needed. And that's something that there are eligibility requirements, but we want to help you with. So let's talk a little bit about who you're going to be reaching out to in that support group. When you log into your student portal today on the homepage of mytlc.trident.edu, you will see 2 photos, and those are consider that kind of like your support team, right? There's going to be your student finance advisor, and there's going to be your student success advisor. Hey, maybe some of you guys have my face on there. You never know. I do support a lot of students, and I love it. And so in addition to that, right now, if you've just started your program, you are working with your admissions advisor. You've probably hopefully you built a good rapport with them. And once they get you all set up in class and started in class, within the first 2 weeks, they're going to transition you over to someone like myself, a student success advisor, who is then going to become your point of contact. I'd always encourage you to save their phone number, note when they email you. I always try to only email my students when it's something important that I want them to know. And so just kind of start to get in the groove of checking your emails every day, or we text and we call. So, and then finally, the other piece to that puzzle is your instructor. Now that will change from session to session, but they don't know what they don't know, right? And so if you're not submitting work and they don't know what's going on with you, they're just assuming maybe they're not interested in class, or you just don't want to leave any room for assumption. So I would always say, even just email your teacher and give them an update about what's going on, or if you have any questions, or maybe there's something that you like about the class. So just know that although you're alone in your room or at your desk doing your work, you're not alone. You are part of this bigger Trident family. And so I really hope that when you make it to our commencement and you watch the video or you attend in person, that you can see that you are a part of a much bigger, huge Trident family. All right, so now we're going to talk about some of our resources. You may be wondering, okay, what is there available for me that's going to help me transition and getting started in school? So in your mytlc.trident.edu portal, there is across the top several options, and one of them on the far right says My Resources. Here you'll see a list of resources available to you. Math and writing tend to be a big thing that students are concerned about, rightfully so. Usually students will be nervous about managing their time and writing and doing the academic piece. If you can manage your time, you've got half of the battle won. Now here's the resources that could help. We do use APA formatting as our general formatting style for the school for papers. Now, it is important to note that that's what we stick with, but it's depending on your assignments, it might not be required. Like in a math class, they might not ask that you do APA. We are in the transition right now. Some classes are using edition 6 and some 7. That is something that is in the process of transitioning. So I'd always ask your teacher, but the key is I would encourage you to start to get to know that. A quick Google search and you will find so much information on that. But don't be worried, don't be overwhelmed by it. Learning is a gradual process, right? And then the Turnitin guide, which is something to kind of help you ensure that your work shows as your original work. The next thing that we're going to talk about is tutoring services. So if you see on this next slide that you are in one of these classes, English 101, Math 101, Statistics and Math 201, Health Statistics, Operations Management, Finance, or any of the TUX courses, there is something, and you'll see on here on the screen, that's called free tutoring. What this is we've partnered with tutor.com. And so if you're like me, you stay up late and you do your homework after the kids are in bed and everything's done. And so you can access a tutor anytime, 24/7. And it usually takes about 1 to 2 minutes to connect, but it's a great option if you're just feeling like, I just need to ask a few questions, or am I doing this right? So I'd encourage you to use that. The next is one of my favorite options or resources, because it's something that I help facilitate. Every day I'm in this orientation helping new students answer questions, have discussions. So if you have not done that as of today, please go in and before you go into your class, complete the online orientation. You'll have access to it for up to 6 months after you start your program, but it's by far the best way to go in and learn the portal, learn the classroom, and how you can navigate, how you can find your teachers, how you can participate in discussion. You can practice submitting work to make sure that you do it correctly. And I'm in there every day answering questions and just making sure people feel comfortable. And usually the feedback is that, oh my gosh, this is what helped me and overcome that hump and feel comfortable. Next, we're going to talk about just kind of first steps to do. I've kind of laid the groundwork now, but go in, log in to your class, do your orientation, and take a tour of your class. There's not much that you can click on that's going to break your class, or there's really not anything that could break it. But sometimes people are a little nervous. Just click around. There's different ways to access different information. And so the more time you spend in the class, the more you're going to feel comfortable. Look over the syllabus, read the assignments, and post your introduction. I always say the introduction is the easiest part. You literally just go in and say, hi, this is me, a little bit about me. And then you get to read about your peers and see that you might have a lot in common or something to learn from the peers in class. Ask questions and develop your time management plan. So that's kind of like the pre-gaming for the class, right? You want to make sure you've read the syllabus, you've read everything, but don't feel overwhelmed. I always felt in college, like the first week of class, that it was a lot of information, but then over time, you get reminders, you check your schedule, and you're doing good. And so develop that plan and check in with your advisor. I always, whenever I see a student that I don't know, I call them. I'm like, I need to know you because we haven't spoken yet, and I truly want to know them and what their goals are. So in summary today, you're going to log in, you're going to complete your orientation, you're going to introduce yourself in your class, and then I would encourage you by midweek, usually by Wednesday, to submit at least your Module 1 discussion post. That's different than your introduction. That's an actual assignment discussion post. Keep in mind, teachers are bound to a rubric. What is a rubric? It is a list of criteria that the student needs to meet for each assignment. And so you can see even in your class, okay, if I submit it on time, I'm going to get like full points, or, you know, they require this many words, so I get this many points. So always look at your rubrics. For all of our assignments, every module is 3 assignments. You're going to have your case assignment, your SLP, and your discussion post. Most classes have 4 modules. I think pretty much all of them. And sometimes your SLP might be a quiz or a paper. Your case assignment typically is a paper or an activity in that regard. Get to know your professors, set up your work area, and just be ready to go. And I would say as soon as you get your first discussion in, try to write a paper maybe by the weekend so that you don't have your case assignment, your SLP the second week of class. Or if you do both of them in the second week, it's no problem. But just make sure that you kind of know each day what you're going to be working on and submitting. And so my last advice is just really reach out, and we don't want you to feel alone. I always tell my students, I am full of the most random information. And so you don't know unless you ask. Maybe you can't find a resource in the library. Maybe you aren't sure how to set up text to get a grade notification. We can help you with that. So that being said, I'm excited for you. Hopefully that this information was helpful. I'm going to turn the time over to Dr. Del Hierro, and he's going to discuss one of the topics that I think is really crucial, and get ready to take some good notes. We're going to talk about academic writing. Dr. Del Hierro, I turn the time over to you.
On behalf of the faculty, I just want to extend my warmest welcomes to all of you. It's always the most exciting time of the month for us to welcome in a brand new crop of leaders into the Trident family. And so We all look forward to interacting with you, getting to know you, and seeing what great things you accomplish in and out of the classroom. So this section focuses on academic writing. It's one of the points of concern for some students, especially who have been out for a while. It causes some anxiety, and so the goal of these next couple slides are just to relieve some of that anxiety and give you some direction to build momentum. So Michael mentioned it, but these first couple days, it's going to be really imperative for you to get the wheels going. And so I hope to provide a broad overview of what your faculty will expect of you with writing, and to relieve some of that anxiety for you. This first slide is it's meant to frame your mindset for what the expectations are within academic writing, and why and how is it different from what you might be used to within your military experience or business experience. So the three key differences that I want you to think about between business and / military and academic writing are the goals of writing, the process of writing, and voice. And so when you're in the military, so the first one is the goals of writing. If you're going to graduate from an accredited institution, you're expected to have a high degree of written and oral communication skills. And so that is kind of what we're helping prepare you for upon graduation. So the first point that I want you to think about is the goal of writing. So when you're in a business environment and when you're in a military environment, your goal of writing, the only purpose you're writing is for mission accomplishment and to accomplish objectives. The difference within what you're going to find in an academic environment is that the goal of writing is to help you become a better communicator. And so there are some steps and some areas that we look for as your faculty to help you become a better thinker and to help you become a better writer, a more effective writer. So for example, within the military and in business, you're writing to accomplish this objective as quickly and efficiently as possible. And when you're in your academic classes, we're looking for your logic and rational thought development of your ideas. So sometimes this comes out when you're answering questions as maybe a 1 to 2 sentence or a 1 to 3 sentence reply to answer a question, because you're in that mindset of answering the question and giving the conclusion as quickly and efficiently as possible. But that's not the only thing. That's actually not the most important thing that your faculty is looking for. It's not really what we're looking for. We're looking for the reasons why and how you came to those conclusions, your critical thinking skills, and your logic and your rational thought development. And so that takes more time, and it takes more effort to lay out those arguments and to do the research from different sources and integrate the background readings into your experience to support your conclusion. So your faculty member is not just looking for the answer. We're not just looking for the conclusion. We're looking for your reasons why, the thinking and the evidence behind it, and your logic and your rational thought development. The second area of that's a challenge or the difference between military and business writing versus academic writing is the process of writing. So when you're in a business environment or you're in a military environment, your superior would give you a command or an objective to write up a memo or write this up or write that up, do a report. You pass it off to your superior edits it, adds a couple things, passes it off to their superior, and before a decision is made, there's 2 or 3 hands that have touched this document. That's different than what you're going to find here and what your experience will be in an academic environment, because you are the single author of this document, of this assignment. So you have to go through the brainstorming. You have to go through the outlining and the editing and the drafting and the formatting, and all those things take time. And so you have to consider those elements when you develop your time management plan for these classes. The third key difference is voice. So if you haven't noticed, especially in the military, you're big on uniforms. I mean, you're dressing the same, you're often talking the same, and sometimes that comes out in your writing. That comes out in your writing, and so that causes some issues because it raises some concerns for academic integrity issues. So we want you to be aware of that. Your instructor will be looking for your independent understanding of these concepts. And so we're looking for you to paraphrase different ideas from a variety of different readings and background sources. We're looking for you to summarize some of these ideas in your own words. So quotations are great, but your instructor will care more about your understanding of these concepts. And that is different than stripping out a quotation and sticking it in your paper. It's fundamentally different, and it takes a lot more critical thinking and a lot more time and effort to summarize these different ideas in your own words and put them in. But that is what your instructor is looking for. And if you consider these things, you will reap the benefits of this program upon graduation, and I promise you will become a more effective communicator and contributor to your organizations. The next slide is just meant to give you a general overview of academic writing structure. And so this is not an all-inclusive slide. These are just some tips that as an instructor, I see students kind of missing these points. And so as a writer that you may not have as much experience in an academic environment, or maybe you've been out for a while, I hope that this gives you some direction to get the wheels going and build up that momentum early on. And so there are more resources, more in-depth resources like the ones that Michael mentioned within the Writing Center and our resources drop down. So please make use of that. But here I just want to frame your mind into what we're looking for in terms of structure and content. So there's basically going to be three main parts of your essay: the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. And so your introduction is kind of like any presentation you may give, like a PowerPoint presentation. You always have a first slide that tells your audience what you're going to be talking about and why it's important. And so that's your introduction paragraph. You're just going to be basically presenting an overview of what you're going to be talking about and why it's important. So I want you to think about this because there's an important statement in your introduction that your instructors look for, and it's called a thesis statement. Essentially, this tells your reader what the purpose is of your essay. And so a great way for you to know what your instructor is looking for is to look at the module learning outcomes. So every module, you have 4 modules. Every module will have learning outcomes on the home page. So every module will have learning outcomes for every assignment on the home page. That is basically what your instructor is looking for, and that is what your instructor will be looking for or measuring your understanding of those concepts. And those are great statements to put into your introduction paragraph, and to help ground you when you're answering these questions. So in addition to the learning outcomes, your assignments will have like 3 or 4 questions that you have to answer. Use those learning outcomes as like the lenses to view those questions. So address the learning outcomes through answering the questions. So consider that with your thesis statement development, and definitely make use of those module learning outcomes because they give you what your instructor is looking for on each assignment. From there, you got your body paragraphs. And so the best recommendations I could give you when you're first getting going in your writing is to break up those questions into sections and subsections using headers and subheaders. So just like on a PowerPoint presentation, you have headers that tell your reader or tell your audience what this slide is about. Same thing within your essay. Include a header, include subsections within that make it overtly obvious to your instructor that you are addressing this part of the assignment. This is the key term that you're going to be addressing. So not only does it provide some structure for you for your essay, but it also makes it very obvious for your instructor that you are hitting all those points within your assignment. And so again, going back to the content of your assignment, is your instructor looking for the conclusion? Yeah, sure, we're looking for your answer to the question, but again, we're looking for the reasons why. And so when you draft your paragraphs, I kind of want you to think about aiming for about 4 to 7 sentences. Trust me, nobody's going to be counting your sentences out, but I think it's a good guideline for you, because if you're going below that 4-sentence mark, then you're probably being a little bit too brief or concise, and you're not exploring the topics or discussing the topics in detail. So make sure you're going back and citing some evidence from your background readings. Again, we're looking for APA citations and some evidence, some objective research and evidence to support your conclusions. And if you're going above that 7-sentence mark, then you're probably rambling on too much, or you could make that into a more concise structure to better highlight your ideas, or you just need to break up that longer paragraph into some more paragraphs, into maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs. But you don't want to go on and on a page and a half of text, of block text. You really want to break that up into small sections and subsections, include those headers, and make it really easy for your instructor to pick out those main points. If you're struggling, again, I talked about the thesis statements above, but if you're struggling in terms of how to start a paragraph and what your instructor is looking for, I always mention these points right here. Define the key term, explain the application of the key term to the assignment, and then discuss why the concept is important to either the module learning outcome or just the class in general, specifically and with specific focus to the module learning outcome. So those 3 points, I think if you cover those, that should get you to that 4 to 7 mark. Include some evidence in there to support your ideas, and that's a great way of just getting started. This is not going to be the perfect way. I can promise you that your instructor will give you feedback, but it's really important for you to take that feedback and then just continue to build upon it. Your instructor is not looking for perfection. In fact, you shouldn't expect that of your instructor. We're here to make you better communicators and better critical thinkers. That's our value. That's our objective. And so when you explore these concepts in a variety of different ways by defining and explaining and discussing the value of these concepts, you're in essence exploring these concepts from a variety of different ways, and you're thinking about them in different ways. So consider that when you're drafting up your assignments. And then the conclusion paragraph is the last part of your assignment, and it really just reflects, it's just kind of like a reflection of your introduction. Your introduction is telling your audience what you're going to be talking about, why it's important, and your conclusion is going to be basically stating what you already have talked about and why that's important. And so they're mirror images of each other. Again, this is not an all-inclusive, these are not all-inclusive suggestions. It's just simply to get the wheels going, and over time you're going to receive more detailed feedback from your instructor to become a better written communicator, a better writer. And so I just highly suggest that you accept that feedback, and with willing and open arms. So I hope that helps. Again, refer back to the resources under the writing resources under the resources tab if you need some more in-depth advice. Always reach out to your instructor, because we love hearing from you and we love to support you in this process. Honestly, it is our honor to serve you. So please make use of us.
Thank you, Dr. Del Hierro. We also have resources to help students outside of the classroom. First, there's Alumni Fire, which is for all current students and Trident alumni. The URL is on your screen now. This is a place where you can connect with other students, alumni, faculty, and staff to get advice on your education, career, and more. For more information, reach out to alumni@trident.edu. We also have Career One Stop, which is a source for career skills development, such as resume reviews, interview practice, and more. This can be accessed on the front page of your student portal right after you log in. If you have any questions on that, reach out to Trident trident4careers@trident.edu. That's Trident, the number 4, careers@trident.edu. And now we're going to move on to today's Q&A session. Hey, welcome to the new session, everyone. Happy January 30th, Joy, Dr. Del Hierro. We should be joined by and should be joined by Christina shortly. Looks like she's getting on. We'll give her a moment. In the meantime, if anyone needs a reminder, if you have a question or anything you want to bring up to us, you can do that by going to the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. Just go down to the question box about halfway down, type in your question or comment, and hit submit. Okay. Let's see. Let's give. While we're waiting for Christina, let's jump into the questions. And then first question, we're going to start with you, Dr. Del Hierro, on this. Question is, I'm about to start on my 3rd session, and I'm a little confused about why I have to put in-text citations in each paragraph of my paper. Could you explain that further?
Yeah, sure. I think so. First, it really depends on the class that you're in, and especially the level that you're in. I wouldn't say, depending on the paper, I wouldn't say that you have to put in-text citations in every paragraph unless that's something specific to the assignment or your instructor's advice. Most research papers, such as your case assignments, maybe some of your SLPs, most of your SLPs will require some in-text citations. I do know that there are assignments in certain classes that don't require any in-text citations. But in general, I would say your introduction paragraph probably doesn't need any in-text citations because you're just providing a general overview of your essay and the points that you're going to be talking about. Same thing with your conclusion paragraph. You're not really introducing anything new, any new information within the essay at that point because you're just re-summarizing what you've already discussed. But your body paragraphs, I would recommend, having some in-text citations because every paragraph should be directed at answering the questions of the assignments. And most of those questions should be grounded in your background reading, or even if you're synthesizing some of those ideas, you're either talking about them, using your own words, and then that way you can use those in-text citations. But really, the reason is, when you say why, it really comes down to your rationale, your rationale, your problem-solving skills, and you need to ground your opinions, your decisions in something outside of your own opinions, outside of your own ideas. You need to think outside of yourself. You need to conduct your independent research, unbiased research, and present your ideas unbiasedly. A lot of the times when students present their ideas using the words I, or I believe this, or I think that in your research papers, it sounds like you're making your decisions, especially when you're solving problems within your assignments, through a very biased opinion, through a biased lens, which is your lens. But the point of doing research is you're grounding your ideas in something outside of yourself. You're synthesizing a variety of different resources, what others have said, what other experts have said, and then you're drawing your own conclusions. So, and that ultimately strengthens your ideas because you know the saying, opinions are like mouths or whatever. Everyone has one. Everyone has an opinion. if everyone has an opinion and you're not grounding your ideas in anything outside of that, in expert research or experts outside of yourself, then it ultimately weakens your ideas. So you use in-text citations to strengthen your ideas, to strengthen your arguments. It's a very long-winded answer, but that's really where that's really the value. That's really the importance of in-text citations, to strengthen your ideas, to support your ideas.
Great, thanks for the thorough answer. Anything to add to that, Joy? If not, I have a question for you.
Joy, I think you might be on mute.
I was. I'm so sorry. I just realized I was. But no, I agree with what Dr. Delahero was saying. It definitely supports what you're talking about, and it removes yourself out of your own paper. So it definitely backs up and assists you in doing your academic research.
Great. Thank you, Joy. Welcome, Christina. And Joy, we'll stay with you for this question. The student who's looking for quote unquote quick access to due dates for assignments, for the discussion, case study, and SLP, where can students find this?
It's right. Actually, that's a great question. So when you go onto your student portal, before you even go into your classroom, there's actually a little drop down, a little link that actually, sorry, not a drop down, but there's a little link right underneath your class, and it actually has assignment due dates on it. So you'll miss it if you don't look for it. So see your class, and then right underneath it, you'll see a blue link, and it has assignment due dates. And that will give you all of your due dates for all of your assignments throughout the entire session.
And I'll just piggyback on this because sometimes there are also questions that kind of spur from this. A common question that we get is, can we submit assignments early, or is everything due at the same time? And the answer to that is everything is due 2 weeks for the module. Everything has a due date, so you need to submit everything by that due date. You can submit early if you'd like. If you're going to be submitting one module or 2 modules early for whatever reason, you're planning ahead, please reach out to your instructor about that. You want to make sure that you're still getting their feedback on those assignments and incorporating them into your upcoming assignments. But schedule your weeks for each module. Break up each module into 2 weeks. What you're going to accomplish in the first week, probably it's that case assignment and maybe a discussion post or 2. I would highly recommend that, something like that. And then your second week, you'll have your SLP. So, work on that SLP and another 1 or 2 posts in the discussions. That's how you break up your module by your classes. And so you don't have to submit everything on that date. You have the flexibility to submit early. And if on occasion some life happens and you need to submit late, then reach out to your instructor. There's really at this point, I think most of your instructors have heard all the excuses in the book, and ultimately it's really not an excuse. It's just reality. Most of you are professionals. You have families, you have jobs. We understand that emergencies happen. So if you need some flexibility with those timelines, then here I am as an instructor, as a program chair. I'm letting you know that your faculty want to support you. We want to see you get to the end of the session. So although those are due dates, we try to have you follow those due dates as closely as possible. There is flexibility, which is the beauty of the Trident system.
Okay, and I was just exchanging a couple messages with the student who asked that, and I think there might be some confusion with because the link that Joy referred to, has the module due dates, and to provide some clarity, the module due dates and at least the due date for SLP and cases, those are one and the same. So, case assignment SLP for module 1. I just looked up the date and I forgot already. For this session would be February 12th. But of course, there's some there's some different levels of the due dates when it comes to threaded discussions, and I think that's what the student is confused about.
The biggest thing I think for those discussions is really you have to maintain consistency. You should. I would just encourage you to strive for consistency. I always say, try to post at least once a week. At least once or twice in the first week, and at least once or twice in the second week. Just because we say that the minimum is 3 posts doesn't mean you should just stop at 3 posts, because then you're losing the opportunity of maximizing your points. So oftentimes discussion posts are short. They're not really very substantive. They could be beefed up. So you're really, the more posts you have, the better opportunity you're setting yourself up for to maximize the amount of points you get. Remember, in this academic environment, just because we say 3 posts and you do 3 posts doesn't mean you're going to get 100% on those posts, because it's the quality. It's not even the quantity, it's the quality of your posts that really was what your instructor is looking at. So just because you say, hey, this is what the assignment says, it tells me to do 3 posts and I post it all on the last day, don't expect that you're going to earn 100% because you've done that. That's just, hey, that's like C level. If you want to get a C, you want to shoot for that C, then go ahead and post that minimum of 3. But if you want to shoot for the A, the B, make sure those posts are substantive and do a little bit more. Do a little bit more to set yourself up well to earn the maximum amount of points that you can.
And let's get Christina involved in the discussion. And this next question is actually a perfect segue from what we were just talking about. The student has a question about the discussion boards or threaded discussions. And Christina, is it a good idea to get those done on that Monday at the start of the module? And to provide some clarity, do all class discussions have to be done by that Wednesday, or this is me adding the last part, or is this going to be something that differs by class?
Well, I would say that you want to refer to the rubric, and that's definitely what I was thinking about when Dr. Del Hierro was talking, is that that's what I wanted to chime in with, was about checking out the rubrics, because I think that's a lot of times when I'm answering questions for students, is that's the area that they're missing, because the academic calendar gives the due dates, but it doesn't, and I know that's what we're looking for, is like specifics. So the rubric is particularly for the discussions, like it's your way of knowing what to put out there. And so usually most of them will say posting by the 3rd day of the module, so that it gives everybody time to respond. So I would say that's usually a good rule of thumb, and really just looking at those rubrics, and you can find them usually in the drop boxes and different areas, depending on the drop boxes for where you're looking the case assignment in SLP, but there's also on the discussions, there's a rubric, and you'll want to pull that up because it gives the different criterias of what Dr. Del Hierro was already really diving in on, was about like the different areas where you can earn and lose points.
Great. Thank you, Christina. And I think that if anyone in the audience is confused about due dates, hopefully we've all been able to explain it clearly, but if not, reach out to your professor, reach out to your student success advisor. And next question, actually, it seems a lot of people have questions about due dates today. Let me pull this back up. And Dr. Del Hierro, I think you may have answered this already, but I know that this is something that you really enjoy talking about, and this is something that our military students should keep in mind, especially those who may go out in the field during the session. But what happens if we finish assignments for the due dates.
Oh.
Dr. Del Hierro?
Sorry, I was talking to myself. Yes, submit them. If you look, probably one of the biggest challenges that you're going to overcome is to maintain momentum. So if you're working on assignments and you're done with them, submit them into that Dropbox. If you're working, 1 or 2 modules ahead and you're not taking in that feedback from your instructor, that might hurt you. That might hurt you, especially if you're missing some of that feedback and your instructor is giving you multiple pieces, the same pieces of advice. It's frustrating for your instructor and it may eventually hurt your grade. But if you're short, like the quickest way to answer that question is if you're done with an assignment and you feel good about it, you feel like you've addressed those expectations, I would encourage you to submit that assignment and get that feedback, because you want to just keep moving in this in your classes. You never know when an emergency is going to happen, when your kid stubs his toe and you have to take him to the ER, whatever it is. Life gets in the way, and it will certainly get in the way at some point in your program. So continue to maintain that momentum as much as possible, which is also one of the reasons why we suggest working on those discussions early, today, tomorrow. Like that should be one of the first things you do, because it's an easy way to build quick momentum. And every discussion is worth 20 points. It's worth 20% of your overall grade. It could really make or break the letter grade that you receive, from a B to an A. There's also a reflection discussion at the end of every class that oftentimes students miss for some reason, but that's worth 20 points. So make sure you're participating in every single discussion, because those are, in my opinion, easy ways to bump up your score and get some participation points and get the highest grade possible, as well as build momentum.
Great, thank you. And we get 2 more questions. And next question, I'm going to send this one to you, Christina. Is the tutoring also available to those who do not have a military background?
Yes, I want to say that it's course specific too. So and by degree level. So I don't. So for bachelor's and master's, I'm not as familiar with which class. Are you more familiar, Joy? I see you, Dr. Del Hierro. He's shaking his head, so he knows something. All right, yeah, maybe they may know more, but I do. Yeah, so I'll punt it to one of them.
There is more. Thanks, Christina, and you're right. There are class-specific tutoring available, and of course, you can always ask your professor for additional help. But there is tutor.com that you can use. There's also other tutoring that may be in your classroom that they can use. So it just really depends on your degree level and which class that you're looking at. What do you have, Dr. Del Hierro?
I was just going to say, well said. Yeah, there are a list of courses where tutor.com is available to everybody. So make use of that if you feel like you need some extra help with writing, researching, understanding your ideas. If your instructor can't help you, or you don't feel comfortable for some reason, you have multiple sources of supplemental support, including tutor.com. So if you do fall into that boat where you feel like you need some additional support, then reach out to your instructor. They know where to direct you for the tutor.com. It's all of it is actually within your classes, and it's hard for me to kind of explain right now, but everything is located within your class underneath like resources within your specific class where the tutor.com is tagged onto.
Okay, great, thank you. And then last question, we'll send this to you, Dr. Del Hierro, the start, and if anyone else has anything to add, just jump in afterwards. Question from a BSL student, and they asking, am I going to have to write several papers in each of my in every class I take.
Yes. Most of your classes are going to be written. There are some quizzes sprinkled in within some of your courses. I will say this, writing is like riding a bike. So if this scares you, don't, trust me, there's going to be enough writing. There's going to be enough opportunity for you to end up mastering this. So if it's a struggle for you, guess what? You're in the right place, because you're going to get really good at writing and thinking. And as I say, good writers make good thinkers. So if you're struggling with that, then you're in the right place. You can't ask for a better support group with your instructors who are fully, and you're not alone. Like many of you might be having breaks in between school. You're probably not alone if you're afraid of writing, or you're lacking the writing structure, the confidence in your writing, but you just have to get the wheels going. And trust me, by the end of your program, you're going to become really, really good at writing and addressing essay prompts. It's just part of the process. And is it uncomfortable? Yeah, but growth comes from challenge, and growth can sometimes be uncomfortable. Welcome to school. That's kind of what you signed up for, to become, bigger, better, smarter, and to, master your craft. So, again, good writers make great thinkers, and you just have to trust the process, because you're not alone, and you have an excellent support group here at Trident to help you through.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah, almost all of your case assignments and SLPs, almost all of them will be written assignments, which is why you have to kind of plan out your week. Have those goals to get through at least one of those written assignments a week, at least one of them a week, per class, and that'll help keep you on track. We don't expect perfection. I always tell people, we don't expect perfection, but you should strive for progress, not perfection, progress. And you just keep building and building and building and getting better, and just a little bit better and a little bit better. And before you know it, you're going to start flying through this. You're going to start flying through your assignments, because your brain is already primed to understand the expectations, and you're going to be going through the same process over and over again. And you're going to be working more and more efficiently. So that's, again, going back to that discussion on momentum. Your momentum is going to be slow at first. Expect that. You're going to be derailed at times. Now you need to start that momentum again. But you have to get the wheels going, no matter how slow. And then the more and more you do, the quicker and quicker those wheels are going to start to turn. And before you know it, you're going to be walking across the podium. You're going to be dancing across the podium. And we look forward to seeing you there. I look forward to seeing you there.
We had some excellent dancers at graduation last year, so we're looking for more this year. So that's all the questions we have, and so I want to thank everyone for attending. And if you have any questions, please submit an email. We're definitely here to help, and we will send a recording out of this webinar later this week. So from everyone, have a great session, and we look forward to seeing you on graduation day.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot,
Best
everyone.
of luck.
Everyone, take care.
Good luck, everybody.